yes, I'm among the almost 40 or so councillors who've resigned from the Labour Party. I am aware, though, that this resignation probably came about 2 years too late. But in the end, it was the Labour leadership's endorsement of war crimes by Israeli forces which made remaining completely inexcusable. Even as Israeli forces were making clear their intention to inflict as much damage as possible on the people of Gaza, Keir Starmer's message was that mass Palestinian suffering was acceptable collateral in Israel's pursuit of self-defense. A week ago, Israeli forces were bombing the Jabalia refugee camp, a war crime. And as they did so, Keir Starmer was standing in Chatham House, still refusing to condemn or even call for an end to the indiscriminate killing of Palestinians. Failure to see Palestinians as human beings with a right to life, failure to oppose war crimes should rule you out as leader of the Labour Party. But actually, Keir Starmer is now being regarded as the right type of leadership material because of his readiness to mindlessly fall into lockstep with his friends in Washington. That isn't leadership. It is morally reprehensible cowardice that is enabling unimaginable atrocities right now, and we must never allow him to forget it. Tony Blair cannot go anywhere without being reminded of his crimes in Iraq, and it must be the same for Starmer's complicity in these crimes. Blatantly clear by now that what we're seeing goes beyond any sane definition of self-defense. Who are you defending yourself against when you're bombing hospitals, mosques, churches, water facilities after you've already cut water, solar panels after you've already cut off fuel? Within 10 days of this bombing, Israeli forces had already killed more children than the total number of Israelis killed by Hamas in the past 10 years. This is not self-defense. What we are seeing is not only an attempt to exterminate the people of Gaza, but the deliberate destruction of the land and infrastructure of one people to make way, to remake that land for another people. And it was confirmed by Netanyahu's statement about Israel taking indefinite security control of Gaza early this week. It is true that the first Nakba never ended, but what we are seeing now is more brutal and possibly more final than what has come before. In 1 month alone, more Palestinians have been internally displaced, albeit within Gaza, than the total number displaced between 1947 to 1949. And the number killed is approaching the figure of 15,000 killed in the first Nakba. And during this unimaginable suffering, the levels of dehumanization Palestinians have been subjected to has known absolutely no boundaries. The greater the cruelty inflicted on them, the greater the need to dehumanize them, so as to minimize opposition for this genocide as it's being live-streamed. They're human animals, they're children of darkness. The parents in Gaza don't love their children as much as they hate Israel. The Palestinian experience has been one of having much of the world deny your humanity, minimize or blame you for your suffering, or just look the other way. And it shames us all that people in Gaza are having to display their dead and mutilated children to beg the West to see them as human. And then, running alongside this, the anti-Arab racism and Islamophobia that has been drummed up here over the past month has been absolutely grotesque, reminiscent of the toxic atmosphere that was cultivated around the war on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's the kind of bigotry which is crucial for engineering assent for atrocities, and that is why it is the accepted racism of our time, not just within the Conservative Party, but also within the Labour Party, if you believe the sort of thing. We can talk about the loss of Muslim or Arab votes, and that has no doubt been impacted, but this is not a Muslim issue or an Arab issue, it's a humanitarian one. It's been said that Palestine is the moral litmus test of the world. It's also the cornerstone of any fight against Western imperialism. Whether your focus is anti-racism, against decolonization and the ruthless dispossession of indigenous people, against the military-industrial complex, whether it's women's liberation, Palestine solidarity is the thread that draws all these issues together, and it's where our focus must lie now. This must never mean denying the rights and security of Jewish people in Israel. In fact, having a just solution for the Palestinian people is a precursor for achieving that security. Because where there is repression against Palestinians, there will always be resistance. That is just how human beings work. And after 75 years of trying to crush in the most brutal ways the Palestinians' capacity to resist, they have not been able to. Now, I have at times over the past month felt completely unable to function from the grief and the anger. Like many people, I'm spending all my time ruminating on the relentless images of cruelty that we're seeing. We have all sacrificed a piece of our sanity to bear witness to what is happening. But it's important to acknowledge that, to acknowledge how difficult this has been, but just to park that for now, because there has never been a more crucial time to affirm our commitment to a free Palestine, to boycott all those companies who invest in this terror and profit from Palestinian suffering, to call for an end to all arms sales to Israel and take action, as we heard earlier, against those companies selling the weapons we know are being used to commit these crimes, and to call not just for a ceasefire, but to an end to illegal occupation and the system of apartheid. We must show our government that we will continue to march with Palestinians through this darkness, even as they attempt to marginalize and frighten us into silence. There is only one way to oppose a threatened ban on protesting, as I've heard Lindsay say before, and that is to keep protesting. And for Braverman, I want to finish by saying this: we will not be bullied into silence about an ongoing genocide. And for as long as Israel is engaged in this inhumane violence and persecution of Palestinians, and is subjecting them to a brutal system of apartheid between the river and the sea, then it's our duty to keep our voices raised and to say that from the river to the sea, the people of Palestine will be free.